Hi, I'm Alison Ellis of Floral Artistry. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to answer a question today, another Q&A day, and the question is actually the most frequent question I've gotten so far, and that is about rentals. How do we charge for rentals? That is the question. You'll get a bunch of different answers on this, I'm sure. Like some people will say they do a third of the replacement cost and all kinds of stuff. I do it a little simpler. What I pay for the item, what I bought it for, is what I charge. It's pretty simple, huh? End of video. No. So it's really simple. If I buy like a mercury glass votive holder for $5, I charge $5 when I rent it. I charge to pick it up, obviously, right? Like that's the day after cleanup breakdown fee. That's a whole separate fee. But the item itself, I charge what I paid. And some of you might go, really? The whole cost? Well, here's the deal. When you run a business, you would normally mark that up, right? So that $5 thing becomes a $10 thing or a $12 thing. So for me, I'm not losing money by renting, but I'm not making the money that I would make if I sold it, right? So I'm still giving them a discount. They're still getting like a 50% discount from what my business sells this for, okay? So that's why we do that. And here's why I do it also, because then I'm not as devastated if it doesn't come back, right? The other reason is because if they want it cheaper, they can find it somewhere else cheaper. But this is just what it cost me. I had to go to the supplier to get it. I had to possibly order it. I had to pay for it in advance, right? I have to store it before and then after the wedding. I have to clean it most likely. There's hardly a thing you rent that you don't have to also clean, right? So those are the things that make up the price. Those are the things that go into it. Now I have to store it forever maybe, right? Like we've all bought something, we're like, we're gonna rent this. And then no one wants it. You're like, oh, you know what? I have a bird cage you could use. No, we don't want a bird cage. You can't win with rentals sometimes. On the other hand, you can win big with rentals. If this is something you want to be part of your business, go forth and conquer, right? You have to be selective, I think, in what you have, unless you have a ton of space. If you got a ton of storage space and you don't mind filling it to the rafters with vases and random buckets and things that you can rent over and over and over again, God bless you. Go forth and conquer. For me, at this stage in my business, I have a little kid, I got my husband, I'm working all the time, working on the weekends. So I don't really want to go back on a Sunday if I don't have to. So while I will rent items, I'm not pushing rental items like I used to. For a while, for years, anytime you got a quote from me, I was like, and here's some additional items I have. I have votives, I have lanterns, right? Whatever it is that I might be able to help boost, what they want style-wise and help them see like, oh, she's got other options for me. And now it's like, unless they mention lanterns, I'm not like, hey, I've got these lanterns I can bring and come back on Sunday and pick up. I'm happy to do it, but I'm not pushing it, okay? I'm not like mad if someone does a rental, but I'm not pushing it the way that I had been. It's just not part of my business plan at this point, but it could very well be part of yours. So here are some rental items I have that I think are the best, okay? Huppah, birch arbor, birch huppah. I've rented that a million times. It is a pain in the tush to load and set up, and it's infrastructure. But you know what? It's actually an actual structure, but it's been great. It has paid for itself. It paid for itself in the first, I think, 2 rentals. So maybe that's one where I didn't charge the full price the first time I rented it. But looking back, I probably should have. I probably shouldn't have thought like, I wasn't wearing the right money shoes. I was thinking, oh, my client doesn't want to pay more than $150 to rent this thing. You rent it for what you need to make it worth your while. You rent it for what you need. So arbor, huge, great investment. A couple of big, like fiberglass urns, like they look stately, but they're not super heavy. Like I can carry them myself. And that's been great. Sometimes I cycle them in and out. Like sometimes it's an event that's far enough away. I'm like, I'm just going to sell these this time and get some new ones for next season. But those are great because it helps your work have an identity too, right? Like these are Floral Artistry's urns. I've seen these before. And it just makes it better for the customer that you don't have to only have things that you can, that are one and done. Like, yep, this is the container, it's yours, you keep it, you go. So urns are great. Votive candles are fine, but you have to clean them out. Ugh, it's not my bag, baby. So, but yeah, votive candles people like to rent. And then obviously you can rent containers, vases. If you have a higher end client, you can invest in some higher end vessels that you can rent over and over and over again. If it's a look that like works with a particular venue or works with a particular style you tend to attract. So if you're going to invest in rentals, just think about it methodically. Don't be like, I'm going to go out and get, for a while, people were loving like floating or submerging rather, like orchids or apples and floating a candle at the top, because apples don't like float to the top of the vase or anything. But there was a time where I had a whole lot of like 24 or 36 inch, cylinder vases. Thank God those days are over. I think I've got like 4 left. So, just realize that sometimes your rentals become like a noose around your neck, right? You're like, oh, I have to rent this over and over again. So whether you are building rentals up as part of your revenue stream, or you're like feeling like I do, where you're like, I don't really like to give into this pressure that I have to do rentals, there's just 2 different sides to it. And you pick which side you're on. Do you want to do them or not? But if you do, I really suggest you charge what you paid for that item, because you're still giving your customer a discount, okay? Thanks for tuning in. If you have more questions on rentals or anything, shoot me a message. And if you like this video, please like it and share it with your friends. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time. Keep doing beautiful work.